Welcome back. You are watching WION Breakfast, and it's time now to take you through the headlines this morning.
The Berlin truck terrorist may be armed and on the run. Police say the suspect, a man of Pakistani origin who was questioned, may not have driven the truck into the Christmas market on Monday.
The remains of the slain Russian ambassador to Ankara was sent home. Russia to send a team to Turkey to join the investigations.
Ousted Tata Sons chairman Cyrus Mistry takes his battle against Ratan Tata to the next level, moves the national company's law tribunal, citing shareholder oppression and mismanagement.
After Google and Apple, now the European Antitrust Commission targets Facebook, says the company may be fined for providing misleading information during its takeover of WhatsApp. Well, those, of course, were the headlines, but now it's time for Satya and me to pick up the newspapers and read between the lines.
Charu, I'm looking at the Indian Express, and here's an article. It's flagging interesting research.
All right.
Interesting research, and this talks about pregnancy changing a woman's brain, preparing her for a new role. I picked up this article specifically because I knew you'd have an insight over this and have a very strong perspective. So this is pregnancy changes a woman's brain, altering the size and structure of areas involved in perceiving the feelings and perspectives of others, according to a first-of-its-kind study published Monday. Now, most of these changes remained 2 years after giving birth. And more pronounced, the more pronounced the brain changes, the higher mothers scored on a measure of emotional attachment to their babies. Now that's interesting because researchers scanned the brains of women who had never conceived before, and again after they gave birth for the first time. The results were remarkable. Loss of grey matter in several brain areas involved in a process called social cognition or theory of mind. The ability to register and consider how other people perceive things. Now, what might the loss mean? There are three possibilities. One, the most intuitive, is that losing grey matter is not beneficial, then later on that there may be negative consequences.
Yeah.
Or he said it could just be neutral. Yeah, neutral reflection of pregnancy-related stress, diet, lack of sleep. And the third possibility is that the loss is part of the brain's program for dealing with the future. Now, we certainly don't want to put a message out there on the lines of pregnancy makes you lose your brain, as we don't believe this is the case, is what they close with.
Exactly. So actually, Satya, I read this article in the morning as well, and my first reaction to this was, what are you trying to say? Like, what is it that you're trying to put out there? That,
seriously,
like what, we become less smart, less intuitive, just because we're mothers? I would say it's really the opposite, if anything, it would be the opposite, because what pregnancy and, suddenly having to care for another life, apart from your own and the world that you've known so far. Obviously, pregnancy does, it turns your world upside down. But really, I think that if there are any alterations really happening, inside your brain, then it is more an adaptation to the new life that you have than a loss of anything that you've had before. I think it just adds to it than anything else. Yeah. So I think it's a little dangerous to put this kind of information out there without enough research backing it up to say that loss of grey matter is necessarily a negative thing. I mean, so many like people lose grey matter when they get older, but do we call old people, like, not everyone who's older is senile. People who are older are also wise. They're wiser, and so I mean, it's perspective, really.
That's right. And to call it research,
I'm a little skeptical about this, and I'm also mildly insulted by what they are trying to put out there.
I know.
And it is very, very dangerous. It's a dangerous notion because already, you have enough people making jokes about, oh, you have the baby brain, and
That's
you
right.
don't remember anything because, you're so stressed out and lack of sleep. And yes, all those things are there. I mean,
And
you
they're
know,
true. I mean,
physically,
exactly,
it
it is
puts a
exerting.
huge exertion on your body. You know, you've gone through the process of creating a human being. I mean, hello.
And after that whole process of enduring pain.
Yes.
You know?
Forget the enduring pain, the 9 months of actually creating
There
that
you
human
go.
being out of your own body. Then, of course, giving birth is the least of it. And then
Right.
bringing that person up to be an able member of society. I mean, you know, the onus of that. The other thing that the study mentions is that they also did scans on the brains of the fathers, and they found like no change. So it's like,
Well,
where the
I
mothers are
wanna say-
losing their gray matter, but the dads are just the same. How is that possible? I mean, you have to. I think this requires research, perhaps from a different perspective altogether, because I think that having a child does change everything for both parents.
Of course,
You know,
absolutely.
certainly it is the woman who is going through tremendous physical changes, but there are many changes that come with having a child, and not all of them have to do with your body or your brain.
That's right.
You know, a lot of them really have to do with your capability, your emotional quotient, you know, the way you deal with things, you know, the kind of strength you have to deal with all kinds of situations that present themselves.
Right.
So I can go on and on, but
Well,
I'm just going
I
to leave
do
it there.
want to bring you back to one thing which they said. I don't know how, you know, this kind of research is put out with that little bit of a disclaimer that we certainly don't want to put out a message out there on the lines of pregnancy makes you lose your brain, as we don't believe this is the case. Then what is this?
Then what is the case? What are you trying to say? I mean, you're saying that the first possibility that losing grey matter is not a good thing.
Oh well.
But I mean, like you're pregnant, you're not senile. You know, there's a
Seriously.
complete difference in that. But anyway, I'm really skeptical about this article, and it's in every newspaper today.
It's in every
It's
newspaper
in every
today, huh?
newspaper today. Yeah. So I mean, I would say, you know, I think they need to do a little bit more research
And
about
I would
what
second
really goes on
Totally second that
when you're
in the
pregnant.
name of research.
Well, moving ahead, I'm going to pick up this article from the DNA. I saw the movie Rogue One yesterday.
Okay.
What a great film.
Uh-huh.
What a great film. So this article in the DNA is really interesting to me today. It says the Force is denied true religion status. The Force, which is the mythical force that binds the Jedis together and gives them all their power and everything in Star Wars. Now, remember, Satya, I spoke about another article a few days ago about how a Buddhist, a practicing Buddhist, saw Star Wars and wrote this huge
That's
article
right.
about how he found Buddhist principles and actual text lines from the Lotus Sutra in Star Wars, and he could recognize them, and
That's
he spoke about them. Well, here apparently Jediism, which is a religion based on the observance of the Force, which features in the Star Wars movie. It's, of course, in a fictional galaxy. The movies are based in a fictional galaxy. But they have a lot of followers, because people who are, you know, totally loyal to Star Wars tried to start a church for the Jediism, and they wanted to worship the Force, but they have been denied, because the Commission in this historic judgment noted that it will not recognize everything that chooses to call itself a religion, and questioned web-based organizations, and that an entirely web-based organization could not realistically call itself a church. This follows a landmark decision by the UK Supreme Court 3 years ago, which actually recognized Scientology as a religion for the purpose of conducting marriage, ruling that worshipping a deity is not essential to religion. So there's a lot of debate about this.
That's right, Scientology.
Scientology as well, huh? So, well, I have another article from the DNA,
Okay.
just moving on into, you know, something else
Sure.
that's very contemporary. WhatsApp to let you edit and delete text. It says, that's the headline there. And Karishma Modi talks about how WhatsApp may soon allow us, the users, to revoke sent text messages. Now that is great news, because, you know, I sometimes worry that, you know, like I've typed out a message and I've sent it to someone else, and it's not supposed to go to the user, and it's totally inappropriate.
Oh, well.
But now we may actually have a chance to revoke those messages and delete them, edit them. And we don't always have to follow up a wrong message by, oh my God, I'm so sorry, this was not meant for you. Please ignore this and pretend like it never happened.
I know, but I don't know. I mean, technology can help me only so far, because I think with all these, it'll help you do one thing, then it'll help you undo that thing, and then it'll help you again redo that thing. My God, it's about communication. I think as long as it gets the right communication going, I would be happy with that. But then no, it just seems to be adding to degeneration and, you know, breakdown of communication. So I am not so sure. And yes, coming from somebody who's been a technology editor, I will still go ahead, put my neck out and say that. It's scary. Oh, yeah.
You are scary. All right. Well, technology is, of course, we know the drawbacks that it has for communication. But technology is great for other things like saving the environment. For example, Kerala is to soon have a solar boat service. Now, this is a really, really interesting article. Kerala will script a new chapter in its transport sector when a solar-powered boat will start its first service from WION for about 180 kilometers on January 12th. The solar-powered boat would conduct its first service with 75 passengers. Fantastic.
Nice.
Fantastic.
Very, very nice.
Apart from, like, I mean, now we have more options. CNG is suddenly not the most viable option. Solar power is here even in boats.
That's right. And I want to quickly mention one article before we wind up the BTL section. That is, there is a art gallery in Delhi, and it is on till 5th of January. What's special about it? It's called Storm in a Gallery. Very, very topical, because with the help of researchers and scientists, artist Sonia Mehra Chawla unearths hidden tales of the country's endangered mangroves.
Oh, wow.
Yes, she's been influenced by the subject from the very beginning of her life, and she says it's important to bring this topic up because the mangrove systems are vulnerable and fragile and at the same time form an important membrane between land and sea. When that membrane ruptures, we are susceptible to impending danger. These mangroves buffer us from erosion and also help in slowing down the speed of hurricanes. So the exhibition is on in Lado Sarai till January 5th.
Wow.
On that
is definitely something that we need to visit. Mangrove, saving the environment, and of course creating art out of it. How wonderful. Well, Satya and I can go on and on because there is so much in the newspaper, so many interesting stories to report, but we're going to have to take a short break here. But stay with us because on WION Breakfast, we're coming back with some fitness.